Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. Hello and welcome to the WrestleTalk Super News. I'm Ollie Davis, back after the holidays with a show even more packed than my stomach was on Christmas Day. Seriously, I cried gravy. With speculation over WWE stars being courted for All Elite Wrestling, a WWE wrestler in store for a big push, and an update on what on earth is happening with Brock Lesnar and will he ever leave WWE? But first, how was former WWE star and current Dragon Gate Open the Dream Gate champion such a bad name Neville's holidays? Well, wasn't Christmas shit? Okay. I spent Christmas with my family. 2 lovely days of eating, watching subpar animated children's films on TV, and drinking excessively to avoid the growing frustration between all of us. We all know Christmas time isn't about the presents and £10 gift cards to major UK clothing retailer Next. It's about love and togetherness. The greatest gifts being our own time. Just being there with fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters to make these darkest and shortest of winter days a little brighter. Wrong! It's houses! The greatest gift is actually literal houses, as Rock the Dwayne Johnson proved on Twitter. Bought my mum a new home for Christmas. I told her to treat this card like it's Willy Wonka's golden ticket, because she gets to choose any home she wants, anywhere she wants. I always say, if you got a good mama, then you got a pretty good shot at becoming a decent human being. And somehow, somewhere along the line, I became one lucky SOB to be able to make stuff like this happen. Merry Christmas, Ma, and woohoo! Enjoy your new home. Santa Claus emoji! Isn't social media a marvelous invention? Always managing to one-up whatever you do. While a house from The Rock seems pretty cool, us wrestling fans really want something else for 2019. A viable competitor to WWE to shake up a stagnated mainstream wrestling business. The best hope for this is the much-reported All Elite Wrestling promotion from Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks, which several sites have claimed will be financed by sports millionaire and wrestling fan Tony Khan. Names rumoured to join the promotion when it launches include Kenny Omega, Jim Ross, Hangman Page, Christopher Daniels, and at least 2 currently contracted WWE stars. But there's also one not currently contracted WWE star, arguably the biggest free agent in wrestling right now, Chris Jericho. After becoming a featured performer for New Japan at Wrestle Kingdom 12, Jericho has gone on to win the promotion's IWGP Intercontinental Championship, heavily tease a move to Impact Wrestling with his real-life friend Don Callis, and run his own interpromotional wrestling cruise. Jericho even went back on a very significant rule he set himself when he started branching out from WWE. He appeared on a wrestling show on US soil, Vince McMahon territory, when he shockingly turned up after Kenny Omega vs Pentagon Jr. at All In. Amidst the rumors of him going to AEW when it's announced next month, Jericho has now posted a photo of him at the recent Vikings vs Bears NFL game, thanking the reported AEW financer Tony Khan for the tickets. Khan owns other NFL team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. But Jericho and Khan aren't the only two doing some AEW flirting this month. Along with doing his own bit of Tony Khan Jacksonville Jaguars referencing, with Wrestle's own writer Bill Pritchard pointing out Cody's recently unveiled weight belt for his match at this Friday's Wrestle Kingdom has the same custom typeface as the Jaguars branding. Rhodes also appears to be courting a potentially disgruntled current WWE wrestler. When Cody was asked back in August who he'd pick for All In out of all of WWE's roster, he didn't reply with John Cena or Brock Lesnar or No Way Jose. He said Zack Ryder. I know he doesn't fit the indie model exactly, but at one point that dude was getting his name chanted in Madison Square Garden while the great one The Rock was in the ring. I think he works too hard to be just a super jacked dude in the background. And now it seems Cody's doing some classic internet-based, so I hear you're having trouble with your boyfriend, groundwork with Zack after Ryder posted this rather sad tweet last week. I haven't had one match on Monday Night Raw in 28 2018 yet. Want more Raw left? Always ready. Still here. Well, it's a new era in WWE, and in it, Zack Ryder gets a match. As because tonight's New Year's Eve Raw was actually pre-recorded on Friday, we know he features in a battle royal to determine the #1 contender for Dean Ambrose's Intercontinental Championship. It might be too little too late though, with Cody sliding in on Twitter to console Ryder / probably try and tempt him to AEW. Some perspective for you, babe. Several years ago, the biggest star in the world in Madison Square Garden, The Rock, was standing in the ring and the crowd was chanting, "We want Ryder." Whatever you do now, do it without fear. I mean, Pam went and did the Pratt Institute thing. The Pam and Pratt Institute thing is a reference to the American version of The Office, where Pam Beasley left the receptionist job she was unhappy in to pursue her dream and study graphic design, which I'm sure has no parallels whatsoever to Ryder working at WWE and getting a lot more creative freedom if he jumped ship to AEW. Interestingly, another wrestler many fans feel should leave WWE, Dolph Ziggler, replied to Cody. Great call, but no way he gets that reference. Maybe tell him to defend himself the way Kevin defended his home against the Wet Bandits, which of course refers to Christmas movie Home Alone. I can't figure out why that reference works, but the Wet Bandits should definitely be Ziggler and Ryder's new tag team act. While Ziggler and Ryder to AEW is purely speculation at this point, the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter is reporting at least one person is on their way to the new promotion. Longtime Ring of Honor wrestler and producer BJ Whitmer. Haha! BJ. According to the newsletter, after 15 years with the company, Whitmer left ROH this week after an issue behind the scenes back in September. Apparently, WWE offered him a guest coach spot for a week at their performance center, causing ROH to want BJ to sign a non-compete clause on the spot. As well as being a wrestler, most notably as part of the Decade faction with Jimmy Jacobs and Roderick Strong, Whitmer also acted as a producer, booker, trainer, commentator, and even occasionally Bernard the Business Bear portrayer for ROH. The newsletter notes he's expected to be headed to AEW in a similar role. So the bear? But what could WWE's answer be to AEW seemingly canvassing talent behind the scenes? Give Mandy Rose a push! Of course! Vince McMahon and head WWE producer Kevin Dunn have reportedly been very high on Rose ever since her Tough Enough days in 2015. And despite protecting and seemingly giving a subtle push to her Absolution co-star Sonya Deville in recent months, the Wrestling Observer note Mandy is WWE's true focus, writing, Vince is also very high right now on the idea of making Rose a star. Basically, it's the similar mindset they had earlier with Lana, with the big introduction before she faded into becoming another woman on the roster and then was put back with Rusev. Lana, though, was reportedly the wrestler McMahon and Dunn jumped to when the Emmalina gimmick with Emma didn't work out, which Pro Wrestling Sheet wrote at the time was intended to be a throwback to characters like Sable and the Cat, which is to say an overly sexualized blonde woman character. That's not to say overly sexualized blonde woman characters can't work in 2018, as Scarlett Bordeaux is showing over in Impact Wrestling. The crucial difference there, however, is that Bordeaux's character comes from her, whereas Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn's persistent attempts comes from two guys over 50 just trying to find the right blonde woman to overly sexualize, which kind of makes it a bit more exploitative. But nowhere near as exploited as Brock Lesnar makes Dana White, Vince McMahon, and the Universal title feel. Lesnar, somehow, after he was supposed to leave after WrestleMania 34, and then again at the Greatest Royal Rumble, and then again at SummerSlam, and then again at Crown Jewel, is WWE's current Universal Champion. Before all those times he was supposed to leave, it was widely reported he'd moved to the UFC for a big money fight with either John Jones or Daniel Cormier. This seemed particularly certain heading into SummerSlam, where Lesnar re-entered USADA's drug testing pool, a prerequisite for fighting in the UFC again, and entered the Octagon at the end of UFC 226 for a good old-fashioned pro wrestling angle, shoving new heavyweight champion Cormier to the ground. A reported secret deal with Vince, though, got Brock to return to WWE just a month later at Hell in a Cell, setting up the Universal title match at Crown Jewel, which he won. It's all rather confusing, but don't worry if you can't make sense of it, as neither can UFC President Dana White. Speaking after Saturday's UFC 232 event, which was headlined by John Jones's third-round knockout of Alexander Gustafsson to win the light heavyweight title, White said Lesnar is not out of the title picture and that the UFC could absolutely sign him. In fact, White continued, I think he's already under contract with me. How many contracts have you secretly signed, Brock? White expanded, revealing Brock has been playing both sides off each other for the majority of 2018. We were talking about Lesnar returning to the UFC, and then he ended up signing a new deal with WWE. What I think happens is that he's in a very unique position, because he can play this thing between UFC and WWE. They get right down to the wire, and I think Vince throws so much money at him that he goes, alright, I'll do it again, because this is here no matter what. When he's ready, he can come in and fight, and he's gonna make a load of money here too. So it makes sense. I assume that's what's going on. What are the 10 biggest WWE rumors for 2019 you need to know? Click the video on screen now to find out, and give us a subscribe to keep up to date with all the latest wrestling news. I've been Ollie Davis. Have a happy new year. And that was Wrestling in 2018.